Thanks for being with us. We're on the NASCAR Fox pre-race show live from Atlanta Motor Speedway. You can see with rain in track and the dryers out, it's going to be a couple of hours. See if even then, with rain in the forecast, they can get this race scheduled for 500 miles in after a great doubleheader of racing yesterday at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll update you as we roll along. The advantage of being here at the Hollywood Hotel with Jeff Gordon, Darrell Waltrip, on Chris Myers. We get to bring in drivers and spend some time with them. And we were just talking about the driver of the 10,
we needed you
the
to get
Smithfield
here.
Ford. Eric Almirola, thanks for being with us. It's nice to see you. And again, classy comments after a very devastating moment that we all watched at the Daytona 500. I bet you were anxious, right, to get back in the car and race here in Atlanta. So give us your mindset right now, how you're handling this delay.
Come on, go away, Rain. I figure the quicker we race at Atlanta, we'd have something new to talk about.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a tough week, just kind of reliving that over and over and over. It's one thing to go through it in the moment and be, devastated in that moment, but then you hurry up and want to look forward. But then everybody else wants to still look backwards.
All right, we'll get out of the way as quick
right.
as possible about this certainly this incident and those moves happening on the back straightaway last week. Been analyzed all week long, so
Sure.
I can't wait to get your perspective on it. I thought you did everything right. I'll say that, but I am curious.
Yeah.
The first bump when you moved left and Austin came and he hit you in the left side of the bumper, kind of squared up, mainly more left. I'm curious, how in control were you at that moment?
Not much. All week long, you saw our cars moving around a lot when we were getting pushed, and we saw a lot of big wrecks from just untimely pushes. And right there, my main focus on that restart was just keeping up with the 11. I wanted to stay on his door. I felt like I did everything right on the restart. I got to the lead. I blocked him right there, and I got hit. So I got pushed over, and then I just couldn't hold on to the second one. But I mean, I was going for the Daytona 500 win. I mean, I wasn't going to let him have it. I would have been sick to my stomach if I would have just pulled over and let him and the other cars drive by, and if I would have finished second or third or whatever, and not made the effort to block. And I knew they were coming with a big run. I knew it. My spotter told me. But if I would have just stayed on the bottom and let them drive around me, I mean, that would have been hard to live with.
So, real quick, I'm just curious, in that moment, is that because it's the Daytona 500, or would you do the same thing for any win?
Yeah, we can go to Talladega and Daytona in July. I mean, you're coming to the last lap, you're trying to win the race. I mean, I want to win. I want to get the trophy. I want to get my team to victory lane. I want to get my sponsors to victory lane. So you in that moment, you're going to do everything you can to try and win the race.
Yeah, first time in a 10 car, so you had to be absolutely thinking, I'm going to win the biggest race of my life.
Did. I regret thinking that now, but I remember looking in my mirror going through 1 and 2 and seeing them side by side and side drafting each other, and I just kept thinking, I hope you guys do that for about 3/4 of a lap more, and we're going to win the Daytona 500. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out.
Have you heard from Austin Dillon? Talked to him? Texted at all?
He did. He texted me that night about 2 in the morning when he was probably drunk.
About then.
He was drunk and celebrating and having a good time. He texted me, and
I hope he was compassionate in that moment.
Yeah, he was. But congratulations to those guys. And sometimes you can't just you can't fight fate, and for it to be 20 years to the date that the 3-car won, and all of those things adding up, it was a great day for our sport. It was a great day for that team, but I was a little envious that we weren't the ones in victory lane. I can tell you that.
I told him, it wasn't Austin Dillon. It was the 3-car.
Yeah.
That car did that.
Eric, let's kind of talk about Atlanta. I mean, you have a teammate who dominates this race.
Oh gosh, he's incredible.
He's so good. So, I mean, what have you learned from him? How's your car? What do you think once we get going?
I think our car is good. Our car is not awesome. It's not the best car, but I think our car is good. I think we can be competitive and run up front. We've gotten to look at some of our notes from our teammates. I feel like the 14 and the 41 are also good, but obviously Kevin's so good here. He's so disciplined. He's got just a feel. He knows exactly what he's looking for, and I mean, you've been that way at certain racetracks, and you just show up. You go to Martinsville, you know you're going to have to race Jeff Gordon. It doesn't matter if you have a good car or a bad car. You know you're going to have to race Jeff Gordon for the win that day. And that's how Kevin Harvick is here. And you show up here, and he just knows exactly what he's looking for, and he can make his car do things that I haven't figured out how to do yet.
Oh, Jeff's he's only won 5 times.
Yeah, don't worry, the rest of the field hasn't quite figured it out yet either.
So what does it feel like to go from, in all honesty, the Petty team who struggled at times last year, and now you're on a first-class, top-of-the-line, best equipment available. What does that transition feel like?
It's a tale of two worlds, really. I went from a team that was quite frankly a mid-tier team. Didn't have all of the money and resources necessary, and Richard said it himself. For years and years that I was there, he always told me we're going to go and we're going to do the best we can. But we raced as a family operation there, and I think when you look back at the sport over the years, when guys like Rick Hendrick and Roger Penske and Gene Haas and these guys come into the sport, it changed the playing field of the entire sport, and you went from having family-run businesses to billionaires' playgrounds. And so
we're talking about Jeff Gordon now.
And so I think really, when you look at it, these guys, Rick Hendrick and Roger Penske and Gene Haas and Joe Gibbs Racing, they race purely for fun. This is an ego thing, and they're going to spend the money it takes to have fast race cars, and it was run more like a business at RPM, and I enjoyed my 6 years there. It was an opportunity that I'll forever be thankful for, and it got me to where I'm at today. But when you look at the resources we had 65 employees there. I walked into Stewart-Haas Racing the first day. They got 380 employees.
Yeah, they had 65 in the front office.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And the irony, the 43, Bubba Wallace comes in second. He's going to be joining us here a little bit later, so it still comes back all around. I know viewers, race fans want to know, after that rough crash last year at Kansas, you've worked your way back. I know when we saw you at Daytona, you said that the recovery program put you in such conditioning that you continued that after you were healthy, and it's really helped you overall.
Yeah, it has. I've always enjoyed working out and trying to stay fit. I cycled for a while, and then I kind of took some time off when I had kids. It was really hard to be gone 4 days a week and then come home and tell the wife, hey, I'm going to go off for 2 hours or 3 hours on the bike, have fun with the kids. So for a while there, I took some time off from cycling, but still tried to stay in shape. And now that the kids are in school, I've got all this free time during the week that I've really been back at working out and riding my bike and trying to stay in shape.
And I know that was one of the first things that went through my mind when I saw you go into the wall at Daytona was, how is your back? I mean, we saw what a tough, devastating crash you went through last year at Kansas. From what I understand, with that compression fracture, you're a little shorter now than
I am. How much he's shrunk.
That's just the chair, right?
So,
adjusting.
I am a little bit shorter now, but not too short. I'm still 6 foot.
You're a tall guy.
You still fit into the.
The vertebrae actually compressed in half. So they said if I was 60 years old or 70 years old.
Easy.
Notice
Yeah, you know.
Talking about
or 80 or 90.
Yeah.
Old guy with a bad knee.
I shaved my face because I've got gray hair in there too. But yeah, they said if I was older, they would do something called kyphoplasty, where they take a needle, they basically put like a balloon inside the vertebrae and blow it up. And then they put something like rubber cement to make it solid again. Wow. But they said with me being young that wasn't necessary, that it would just heal up on its own and I'd just be shorter.
You're just 33 years of age. You mentioned your kids, and I know after that moment, just to go back, how classy you were when the microphone was in your face after Daytona 500 with our questions and comments. How were you able to hold it together and not just scream out? You said you were devastated, but I know you talked about not only thinking about your kids, you're a father out there, your spouse. In fact, let's run the interview for people that
come on, Chris.
Well, no, this is important because and you could assess yourself how you handle this, because I think we were all impressed. I don't know if many of us, and you guys have been in that spot, could have handled it this way.
I don't know how you
let's
did
listen
it
to this. Okay.
Oh, my heart is broken. I'm so devastated. I thought I was going to win the Daytona 500, Vince. Just disappointed. I wanted to get Smithfield to victory lane. I wanted to get Ford to victory lane. Everybody, put so much into me and my career, and with this switch over to Stewart-Haas Racing this off-season, and I couldn't have thought of a better way to start off the new relationship with Stewart-Haas Racing than to go to victory lane at the Daytona 500. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I did everything I could, and unfortunately, I ended up in the infield care center. So I'm definitely devastated, but the beauty is there's always next week. We'll go to Atlanta and try and go win with Smithfield and Ford there.
Eric Almirola, so close, but ends up 10th.
All right, so we're here this weekend. I think the composure is the point. I mean, how do you hold that? Because you could have screamed and yelled, and like a lot of us would have.
Well, it's twofold. One is that there was nobody with a camera at my car when I got out on the back street.
so okay.
There was a little bit more anger over there.
Yeah, so I had the ambulance ride to the infield care center to calm down.
You were okay.
I had the time in the infield care center to calm down. My boss, Tony Stewart, came in the infield care center, gave me a big hug, told me he was proud of me, and then said, "Hey, when you go out here to do the media, do as I say, not as I do." I've made some bad choices over the years, and just go out here and do the right thing. And I was going to anyway, but it crossed my mind as I was walking out there to do the media. My kids are back in my motorhome waiting for me to get back there. I'm sure they're watching TV. Do the right thing, be a good role model for them, and at the same time, use this opportunity to talk about the positive. We were going for the win. We were getting ready to win the Daytona 500. We had a lot of corporate executives from Smithfield there. Obviously, they've invested in me and making the switch over to Stewart-Haas Racing. So to have their support and the support from Ford Motor Company, I wanted to make sure that I got that in there. Like that's important to me because in our day and age, the sponsors and the manufacturer supports are what make this go round. And so I wanted to use that opportunity to talk about the positive and not focus on the fact that things didn't go my way.
You had to be pretty proud of yourself, though. You had to be pretty happy as a driver that you put yourself in a position to win our biggest race.
I was, and I think for me, when I look back on it, I've replayed that a million times in my head. Like, what could I have done different to win that race? And it's a big race for all of us. But I grew up as a kid in Tampa, Florida, 2 hours away. Like, I've been going to that race since I was a kid. Like, to win the Daytona 500 would be the ultimate. And so to have myself in that position and literally be a half a lap away from winning the Daytona 500, I was proud of that. And for it to be in my first race with Stewart-Haas Racing, they took a chance on me to bring me over there to drive their race car, and to be able to be that close to producing a win already felt really good.
Well, we have a clip from Tony Stewart, and I
got a lot of clips.
I think it's so cool.
Is it
the figure 8 jump?
No, this is. Listen, I don't know which one, but Tony being candid, which we all loved.
Logano down to block Stewart. Stewart trying to get further underneath than Kemp.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm gonna bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
I think that's exactly what he was talking about when he said, "Do as I say, not as I do." But
it was great seeing the late Steve Burns there with him as well. We miss him greatly, and certainly on the track, Tony driving and that kind of personality, right? So you have to have some personality. You just have to stay within the boundaries of what's the real you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it like? I mean, what is it like being with Smoke? I mean, we've all competed against him. We all know him, and we see these interviews. What's it like when you're behind closed doors with Tony Stewart? What does he bring to the table that can help you as a driver?
It's awesome. The thing I love about it the most is that he's a racer. He's just like us. I mean, he loves to race. He went and raced the sprint car race last night in the Panhandle of Florida. I mean, that's all he wants to do is race, and he gets it. I mean, he's 2 years away from being in one of these cars. He knows what we're going through. He knows the challenges. He knows everything that as a driver that we're up against, and so he's in tune with exactly what we're talking about.
And I know that
I stick to doing what he does behind the wheel.
Yes.
And doing what he says off the track.
Yeah, because I know that
Tony and Richard was telling Bubba, "Don't wreck my car." And Tony Stewart said, "Just bring back the steering wheel."
He did. He actually did. He told me before the race, and you just actually made me remember. Before the race, so I'd already wrecked in the 150. Jimmy blew a tire and took us out there in the 150. Saturday in the Xfinity race, coming to the white flag, we wrecked on the back straightaway. So on Sunday, he said, "I'm not going to tell you to not wreck my car today." He said, "All I'm going to tell you is to get to the end. And if you get to the end, do whatever you have to do to try and win this race.
There you go, the irony of it
Yeah.
all. No, I know that Gene Haas
did your job.
and Ford are very happy with Tony Stewart and his role as an owner and what he's done, and really has helped take Stewart Haas forward, and glad that you're a part of it. Thanks for spending some time with us and coming, and we really appreciate it. We wish you a lot of luck the rest of the way. You're always welcome to drop by.
All right, thanks.
All right.
But not when it's raining.
That's
Let's-
right.
He said for me to give you a hug, but that's his
half hug.
That's a man
right.
hug right there.
Hey, will she give me her prayer verses now that she's not going to give them to Dale Jr.?
We'll sure talk about it. I guarantee you.
All right, good luck. Hopefully we get there. We're going to talk with Bubba Wallace. We talked about the 43 and Richard Petty Motorsports. There he is. Hey, Bubba. He's shy. We have to give him a moment to warm up, but he'll be joining us. It'd be great to talk with him here live from Atlanta in just a moment. Thanks again. That was really good.